Hello and welcome, I'm your host Elizibar. This is Maestro number 1. You can see the 1 right there. It's kind of big. Cool looking title, isn't it? That looks really cool. The cover looks pretty cool too. Like, everything about the presentation here is a lot of fun. This is kind of a weird thing to try to review because it's got the problem a lot of prequels have. And you're like, what is that problem, Elizibar? That problem is you know where the story goes. You know that eventually this dude right here, this dude right here becomes that dude right there, which means he is ultimately the villain of Future Imperfect. We know what happens in Future Imperfect if you've ever read it. If you haven't read it, you should go read it. It's a really good Hulk story. Do recommend Future Imperfect. It's been several years since I read it. And this cover almost looks like, you got him like right here on the side with the mushroom cloud. That almost looks like this should be a wraparound, doesn't it? But it's not. We just have an ad on the back, which is a little bit of a bummer. That's a wasted opportunity because this piece of art kind of says there's more that way. So, Hulk, we open up to Hulk living, his best life, beating up Sentinels or whatever. And then things start going weird for him. And I'm not sure how far I should go here. That's a tricky one, because where do you draw the spoiler line? Where do you draw the line for the spoilers? Man, that is pretty cool. He looks a little stiff here. I gotta admit, his posing doesn't look like he's actually followed through on the punch. It looks like he's just kind of moving his arm across his chest. I think if maybe we had drawn the fist a little bit out here or something. You've got all these motion lines in the back. Maybe a couple little motion lines right here to indicate that a swing had occurred. Would have totally sold it. But otherwise, it feels like we're just kind of like posing awesomely. It still looks great. That looks amazing. Imagine being the artist that had to draw all these stupid, squiggly lines, pieces of metal, debris. Yeah, it's good stuff. Wolverine looks awesome. Betsy Ross looks awesome. Betty Ross, whatever you want to call her. They all look awesome. Thor looks awesome flying off. Like, there's so much good stuff here. It's a Marvel book with actual, genuinely pretty darn good art. You can open this up and flip through it, and even if you don't really care like about the characters, you can just like sink right into how it looks. It pulls you in. It's inviting. It's warm. It's delicious. Hold on, was this actually the first page of the comic? Oh yeah, because over here we've just got like a recap page. Huh. That's weird. Anyway, things go weird for him. He's having dinner with the family, and he's got 2 kids. Oh, you know what? It's a good opportunity. Let's show the kids right there. See, one's green, one's not. It's perfect. And things go weird. The world goes dark for Hulk, and eventually, we find out that everything is kind of a lie. Yeah. And he wakes up in a world he's hooked up to all kinds of stuff. And like that, the truth gets revealed to him. Oh, is it good? Is it good? There's a little bit of action. So there's some action before this point, and I didn't show it, but he has a confrontation with the Avengers. There's some action after this point where the people that have been holding him show up, and they have a conversation. It's really good stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I do recommend it. I think this is this is a great little comic book. I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10. This is not like an absolute masterpiece. It's the first issue. It takes a little longer than the first issue of a story to kind of get you that masterpiece point. But one thing I'm going to kind of knock it for is I feel like if we were telling this story back in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, this whole issue would have been summarized in like 6 pages of a comic as opposed to stretching it out over an entire book. I actually kind of like the way it's being presented here. We get this, maybe not a slow burn, but we're receiving revelations every couple of pages. We get a new revelation, and so you get a little bit of a chance to take it in because you go from him in the place where he was to waking up here, and then you get a couple pages before the next big thing happens, and a couple pages before the next big thing happens. For once, the decompressed kind of storytelling is working in the book's favor. I do have a little bit of a concern with the length of the story arc, though. I got a piece of tape stuck on the side of my desk I just saw. Can you believe that? Isn't that weird? It's probably a stray piece of tape from bagging a comic. You know how that goes. You're getting little pieces of tape out there. Anyway, I digress. I totally was going off over there. Let's bring it back to the book. You get a little breather. You get a chance to digest what's happening. And in a story like this, where we're setting up future, an alternate future, I should say, you need those breathers. You need that little pause. That's what's going on. Because we're not rushing through the story like we would in, say, a late 80s, early 90s what if comic, where we get like the story premise can be defined as like two sentences. What if Phoenix had not died, you know? And then everything just kind of goes from there. And we don't explain really anything. You just assume that your readers will understand what's going on. We're not really doing that here. We're actually taking the time to explain this, which means this is actually a pretty good book for somebody who's new to kind of pick up on. Really, it just kind of relies on having a super surface level understanding of who the Avengers are. I don't necessarily know that you need to know who all the specific characters are in this group. You need to know who Hulk is, probably Thor, and Captain America. And that's about it. And it's immediately obvious they have a relationship even if you don't know who she is. So you can just kind of cruise right into this. And you don't require any real knowledge of this aside from the movies. In fact, there's even a call out to the movies in here. I don't know that this is too much of a spoiler, but when things are going weird and his universe is starting to fall apart, yeah, she starts doing the little lullaby thing that she did in the movies with Hulk. It's cool stuff. One thing I do have to worry about, and I think I was kind of going into this before I saw that piece of tape and we went off in that weird tangent there, is just Future Imperfect was 2 issues long. 2. I just looked up on Previews World how long the Maestro miniseries is. It's 5. Huh. So I don't know how you can tell one of the best Hulk stories of all times in 2 issues, but it takes 5 issues to set up the villain for that. Does that make sense? That seems like we're maybe taking too long to set this up. Or maybe, since this is a prequel, and we know how this goes really anyway, it's all kind of unnecessary. Unnecessary or not, I did like it. I would give this like, I don't know, an 8 out of 10. And keep in mind, for me, like, something that's average is like a 5 or a 6 or something. So this is like well above average. This is like in the pretty darn enjoyable category. And I think you might just like it. Check it out. Hope to see you again next time. Until then, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And bye-bye.